Today we're going to be learning about Lesson 2.2 Number Stories. But first, before we go into number stories, let's do a quick little review about what we learned yesterday. Don't forget about extended facts. When we have 8 plus 8, we know that of course 8 plus 8 equals 16. Now, what about 80 plus 80? We know this has pushed us out into the tens place now, so we still have our 16, but now we are adding a 0 onto it. So we have 160. Now 800 plus 800, yep, you got it. We have the 16, but now we are going out to our 100 spot, so we need to add 2 zeros onto this answer. Now let's look at some multiplication. We have 15 minus 7, which of course we know is 8. Now 150 minus 70, we've extended this fact out into our tens place by adding a 0 onto it. So now we have our 8, the same digit at the beginning, and then we have an extra 0 added, so it's now 80. 150 minus 70 is 80. 1,500 minus 700, we have now pushed out into our hundreds. So we are looking at, once again, the same digit, because 5 minus 7 was 8. But now we went out to the hundreds, so we have 2 zeros added onto that. Finally, let's look down here where we have 6 plus 9 equals, of course this equals 15. And looking at this problem here, they have added 20 to the 6, so we know that our answer is going to be 20 more. So of course that's going to put us at 35. And finally, very similar to the one before it, we have 46 instead of 6, which is an increase of 40. So we know that our answer is going to also be increased by 40, and that's going to put us at 55, which is 40 more than the original 15. So today we're going to solve number stories by looking at different information and asking ourselves different questions. Today we're going to look at animal clutches, and this is found on page 266 and page 267 of our SRB. It says, all of the animals shown on these pages lay eggs. A nest of eggs is called a clutch. And you can see there's different animals on these pages, and they list information about eggs as well as other information about the animals. But the question that we're going to focus on today is, 2 pythons each laid a clutch of eggs. There are 59 eggs in all. One clutch had 36 eggs. How many eggs were in the other clutch? To help us solve the problem, we're going to look at this guide to solving number stories, and this is also in our SRB. It says, solving number stories is a big part of mathematics. Good problem solvers often follow a few simple steps every time they solve a number story. When you are solving a number story, you can follow these steps in any order. Believe it or not, I believe you do this all the time without even realizing it. So let's look at the ways that the strategies that they use to solve number stories. First off, make sense of the problem. You have to read the problem. What do you understand? What do you know? What do you need to find out? Next, make a plan. What will you do? Are you going to add, subtract, multiply, divide? Can you draw a picture, draw a diagram? Maybe make a table or a graph? Write a number model. Use counters or base 10 blocks. Make tallies, or use a number grid or a number line. Next, you're going to solve the problem. Make sure you always show your work. Keep trying if you get stuck. Always reread the problem if you're stuck. Think about the strategies you've already tried and try new strategies. Write your answer with the units. Does your answer make sense? This is the most important thing, is to check to make sure that your answer does make sense. You need to ask yourself, how do you know it makes sense? So let's look at this closer. So let's look closer at the problem here. Once again, what do we have to do to find the number of eggs in the other clutch? Well, we said first we have to make a plan. Right here we can see that we have different types of diagrams we can use. First is the parts in total. We also have a comparison. We have the change diagram. Let's look at which diagrams would be most helpful for us to use for this problem. First, the parts in total. Well, we know the total. We know the total was 59 eggs. So we'll go ahead and fill in 59. The part, well, we knew one part was 36, but the other part is our unknown. So that diagram might be very helpful. Let's look at the comparison here. If we are comparing numbers, we know that the total quantity, the big one up here, is once again 59. We know a quantity was 36, but we need to find out the difference. And remember, the difference is the same as subtraction. When we take 59 minus 36, we can find the difference between those numbers. So as of right now, we don't know. And let's look at the change diagram. We could use the change diagram because we know that the end has to be 59. We know that we're starting off with 36, but we don't know what we're going to have to change it to. What's that difference? We can see, though, that we're going to have to get up to 59, so we know it's going to be plus an unknown. So you have to figure out which strategy you would like to use. One that I like to use for these kind of problems is a number grid or a number line that you can use. You can start at 36 and count up to 59, and that will give you an answer. You can also just solve it as 59 minus 36 by stacking the numbers. Any way you solve it will work as long as you've ended up with 23 eggs in the other clutch. Remember, we need to put down eggs because that is our unit there. So we don't have just the number 23, it is 23 eggs. Now we have to check our answer. Well, we know that the opposite of subtraction is addition. So if we want to add up 36 plus 23, we will find out that we get 59. Therefore, we know our answer is correct. So let's look at a similar problem, but this time it involves money. In this problem, Jose had $76. He spent some money. Now he has $47. How much money did Jose spend? Well, first of all, let's figure out a strategy that we can solve this. We can use the parts and total box, comparison box, or change box. So let's look at all of them right now. For our first one, we have the parts in total. We know that he had $76 in total. We know that part of it was 47, but we are unsure of the other part. The comparison, we're looking at the same type problem here, but this time we have 76, 47, and the difference here is unknown. Now let's look at what we start with. Well, we started with $76 for the change diagram. We're not sure of how much, but we do know it's minus an unknown at this point, and $47 was his remaining total at the end. So first of all, let's write this as a number model. We can write it as 76 minus 47, and then we have to use a strategy to figure out the answer. Once again, you can use a number grid. You can use stacking and just use regular subtraction to solve this problem. But either way, any way that you figured it out, hopefully your answer came out to 29. And remember to do a check afterward. You can simply turn this around and say 29 plus 47 would equal 76. And as long as the answer checks out, you know you're okay. Now pause this video and open to journal pages 35 and 36. You may work alone or with a partner, you choose. When you are done, unpause this video and check your answers. Remember, it's important that you pause and at least attempt the problems on your own first. The answers are here, but it's not about the answer, it's about trying to figure out how to find the answer. Good luck. So let's solve our problems now. On page 35, at the top it says write a number model, use the question mark for the unknown. You may draw a diagram like those shown below or a picture to help. So once again, we've gone through these diagrams before. Pick whatever works for you. Solve the number story and write your answer. Explain how you know your answer makes sense. Number 1. 2 pythons each laid a clutch of eggs. One clutch had 47 eggs, the other had 32 eggs. How many eggs were there in all? So you probably had to ask yourself, is this one that I need to find the full total, or do I know the total? And because we have to find the full total, we know we're going to add up to find the total. So you have 47 plus 32 equals question mark. And then go ahead and use whatever strategy you need to do to count up to 79. And remember, you can always check your answer. It says the total number of eggs has to be larger than either of the clutches. So you know right off the bat, if you had a number less, say you accidentally did 47 minus 32, you would know, wait a second here, that's not right because it's not larger. And the total number has to be larger. Number 2 says an alligator clutch had 60 eggs, but only 12 hatched. How many eggs did not hatch? Well, our number model, we have 60 because we know the total. Now we're going to minus one of the parts. Minus 12 equals an unknown. Or we could also say 12 plus the unknown equals 60. Once again, figure out how you want to solve this problem. Maybe a number line or a number grid would work fine for this. Your answer should be 48 eggs. Important to put that unit in there. It is eggs. Now let's do the check. How do you know your answer makes sense? Well, one sample answer is the number of unhatched eggs has to be less than the total. So I estimated 60 minus 10 equals 50, and 50 is close to 48. An estimate does work for doing a quick double check of an answer. Now let's look at page 36. Number 3 says, Ahmed had $22 in his bank account. For his birthday, his grandmother deposited $25 for him. How much money is in his bank account now? Well, this sounds kind of like number 1 on the other page, where you need to find the total, so you know right off the bat that your number model is going to be an addition problem. 22 plus 25 equals our unknown. And then when you solve the problem, you would have had $47. Now, how do you know that the answer makes sense? Once again, just like the other problem, the end number has to be greater than the start and change numbers. They have to be a total of both of those numbers, so you know it has to be greater. Number 4 says Omar had $53 in his piggy bank. He used $16 to take his sister to the movies and buy treats. How much money is left in his piggy bank? The number model now, we know he started with 53 minus 16 to figure out how much money was left in his bank. Hopefully when you solve the problem, you found $37 was left over. But make sure you check your answer, and you know that the answer has to be less than 53, because 53 minus 16 gave you the answer, so it definitely has to be less than 53. Stop again. This time turn to page 37 and work through Math Boxes 2.2. Pause this video, work through the problems, and then resume the video to check your answer. Remember to ask me if you need any extra help. Let's look at the math boxes now. Number 1 says choose the best answer. The mass of a centimeter cube is about 1 gram. A centimeter cube is just like our little tiny cubes that we use sometimes for counting up with our base 10 models. And that is approximately 1 gram, or remember the same weight as a paper clip. Number 2 says round each number to the nearest 10. You may draw open number lines to help. Well, if you look at 68, you can see that 8 is going to tell you what to do with the 6. Is it going to stay a 6, or is it going to go up to a 7? And 8 is, of course, 5 or higher, so we know it's going to become 70. 83, on the other hand, we look at the 3, it's going to tell the 8 what to do, and the 3 is 4 or less, so we know it's going to stay 80. Number 3 says Rachel had 3 packages of seeds. Each package has 10 seeds. How many seeds does she have in all? This would be a great one for drawing an array. If you had 3 packages, you could have 1, 2, 3 packages and put 10 seeds in each package. And then if you count them all up together, you should have 30 seeds. 3 times 10 equals 30. Number 4 says, how many more books did Lee read than Max? Well, if you look quickly or closely here, you can see Lee's here, and then you can see Max, and then you can find the difference of how many in between, and you would have 15 books. How many books did Kay and Tim read all together? Strictly going to be adding these up together. You can see that Kay had 15, Tim had 10, you have 25 books all together. Finally, number 5 says write a number story to fit 2 times 4 equals 8. Well, there's so many choices you can choose from. So this is just a sample answer of one possible way. It says Mary has 2 pockets. She had 4 beads in each of her pockets. How many beads does she have in all? Well, she has 8 beads. That would certainly solve for this problem here. 2 times 4 equals 8. You come up with something that works for you, though. For homework tonight, work through HomeLink 2.2. Now, if you're finished early and we still have time left for math, play a round of multiplication draw. The directions are found in the Student Resource Book on page 248. Grab a record sheet near the paper sorter. Have fun.